Welcome back. And if you have been following my channel, you'll will have seen that I introduced in my last video the concept of restoring this old mantle. And upon doing some research, I've come to the conclusion that it's most likely a Louis XVI mantle. So I think it's a lot older than previously thought. So it's interesting when you peel back the layers of history. But in studying this piece, I've get to know the history of the piece and its all the alterations that have been done to it over the years. And so this piece is a really good example of what not to do when it comes to restoring or repairing old stonework. So I want to use this as a good example piece about a poor quality repair work and how to correct it and how to stabilize a piece for the future. So this piece has gone through probably 20-30 years ago a pretty extensive cleaning and alteration, and it's unfortunate that it was done so poorly. So I'm going to kind of evaluate the what I'm going to do with this as I go. First goal of this project will be to stabilize it, put it back together, and go from there. So these are the legs from the mantle. So these would be the upright parts, and then the part that goes across the top of the mantle we refer to as the bridge. These are the terms that we use. They may not be universally understood, but I think that every profession and every small community within a profession kind of establish their own words to describe things. And as long as those words are understood amongst a select group of people, then that becomes the new term. So in here in this shop, we refer to these as the legs, and then the bridge goes across, just to clarify terminologies for the future. So in this case, I'm going to just show the legs today. The bridge is still in the other space on the floor, like I had showed you before. And so I'm just going to start out with some of the first stages of assessing what work needs to be done, which is whenever you do anything, you have to assess what is wrong with it, what needs to be done, what does it require of you. And then we just had a meeting about this in regards to discussing what my intentions were for this piece. So as you can see, and this is the outside, and you can see some of the previous repair work that had been done in an epoxy, which is quite unfortunate because epoxy is too hard for soft limestones like French limestone, and it's quite unfortunate that it's been used, because to reverse it in these areas is quite frankly too destructive. I won't be able to get this out without completely destroying the surrounding stone. So these areas I'll be able to repair, and I'm going to reset this base. This base is sitting in some kind of a pin with an epoxy bed, so I've got to gently work this off, and that's also going to be very difficult because epoxy does not release easily. It's loose, but it doesn't pull out very well. So that's one of the no-nos. Epoxy, no for French limestone. The question is, what do you use? And that is something that I will be showing you. All of our techniques are friendly and reversible, and time tested and proven. It's unfortunate that to here you can see hard cements have been used. Again, a no-no. You never use hard Portland cements with something like a French limestone. There's basically everything that could be done wrong has been done to this piece. And this is so I thought that this was a really great opportunity to just highlight what not to do. My intentions of this video are for primarily for do-it-yourselfers that are likely to do work for the repair work and what not to do. Ideally, you should always use professional people to do work, but not everybody can afford our services. And because I love history and respect history, it's really important to me to know that people, if they are going to do any repair work for themselves, at least are empowered with the knowledge about what to do and what not to do, and how to preserve the historic fabric for the future, which is really important. That's what this is all about. I'm not a big fan of just giving away, my knowledge to competing industry. However, if it's going to prevent this kind of damage being done, then I'd rather see that than this. I'd rather. It's a Saturday. I'd rather see quality work being done by professionals than seeing something like this, which this piece has been essentially it's been butchered. And it breaks my heart to see history treated this way. So that's what this is all about. So in the previous video, I showed that this piece had been painted. And you can see it's kind of like it's like a French gray kind of a finish. And this is a sneaky little technique that only people in northern climates can utilize. But the best passive way to remove paint is leave it outside for a winter, let the stone get wet, and let it freeze underneath, and the frost action breaks the bond of the paint, and then it'll just flake right off. And so that's what this piece has been left out for 1 or 2 seasons, and almost all the paint has come off, which is great. So then you can remove it chemical free and without disturbing what's underneath. So that's a technique that we use for breaking the bond, and then the rest is all just simply very delicate work to get the balance of the paint off. There's always going to be troubled areas, especially when you've got detailed carving work. Part of the history of this piece, which I've discovered, is that it has flipped around the legs. So just make sense of this. These outsides of the legs, this is the outside, so this returns back to the wall. This originally was the facing the fire, and you can see the heat damage. Limestone often goes pink when it's exposed to extreme heat, and you can see the pink color in this area here from the heat, and that wouldn't have happened on the outside of the firebox or on the outside of the fireplace. So these was originally the inside, and they flipped it around, and what this side was facing the firebox most recently. And unfortunately, what they did was they hacked this chase into the inside, and they had a set brick into it in a rustic kind of a fashion. So I'm going to have to fill that to restore that smooth, clean line. Like I said, this piece has been terribly butchered. Everything that could be done wrong to a piece has been done to this piece. So that's the challenge, is to turn something that is essentially, a garbage piece into something that's got a new life. So that's all part of the process of assessment of what has been done to the piece, and all these prior to when in the process of cleaning, all these arises were softened off. So a lot of the original details have been lost, which is really unfortunate. It was really poorly done. They would have sanded off a lot of the soot and oil deposits on the inside, and used some kind of a mechanical sander. And I'll show you the evidence to support that, which is something that's the signs that you can look for whether or not a rotary or mechanical sander has been used. So when you're assessing the condition of a piece, these are some of the things that you can identify. So for this, I'm just using a very fine detail chisel, and just ever so lightly flicking it off, and where necessary, I'll come down on a low angle and just gently agitate it enough to scrape it off, and the bond will release itself. And if there's paint still left in delicate areas, you can use things like dental picks to get right in there into the pores of the stone. It's time consuming. I've done whole carved pieces, and you can spend weeks just removing paint, but it's very rewarding in the end to see the transformation of a piece, bringing back all that natural stone so that it can breathe once again. A lot of times pieces were painted both for architectural reasons or aesthetic reasons, but also there's a tendency for pieces, especially limestone, to get what is known as efflorescence, or a salt deposit, due to water or contamination from surrounding materials. And as the wet stone dries out, it effloresces. It becomes foamy or fuzzy with the salt crystals, and they become seasonal. They're hygroscopic, so they'll absorb the moisture in the air, and it's very difficult to get it out of limestone, since limestone is a sponge. So the tendency of people was to just simply paint mantles and forget about the problem. But the problem never really goes away until you've properly reversed that problem. And the best way to reverse that is just to allow the salts to bleed out, surface, and then gently remove them. And eventually it'll stabilize, provided that you don't have a constant resupply of the salts. And there are different ways that you can clean stone sensitively. You can use things that are called poultices, which can be made up of anything from newspaper fibers to plaster that you apply, and it'll pull out from the surface the contamination. For this case, I don't think I'm going to be doing any of that, since I think part of the charm of this piece is the staining. That's what makes it authentic. The staining goes in so deep. I'm looking at the cross section as I'm talking, and in the break, And we were talking about like nearly an inch penetration of some of these oils and from the soot from the wood fires. And that's that's what makes the piece authentic. You can't fake that. So it's this piece will never be a refined piece, and it'll never be a clean piece. That's not the intention. The intention is to salvage this piece and enjoy the piece for its rustic charm. Apparently that was one of the signatures of the period of Louis XVI, that this certain rustic, relaxed charm was embraced. Clean lines, tapered legs, rusticated fluting, and carved ornamentation was part of the signature of the Louis XVI period, according to Google. So, that's again, I'm learning new things. Literally, I just learned that today. Whether or not it's correct, I'll find out in the future, but from what I can tell, this piece is period correct, which is exciting. It's even though I know that these pieces are a dime a dozen in France, they're much more rare here in Canada, that's for sure, as they have to be imported. So it's nice to give this piece a new life. When you think about the history of this piece, if this piece could talk, my goodness, 2 world wars and a revolution, I'm sure it would have lots to say for itself. So even though this won't be a museum level of conservation, as I'm not qualified for that level, I am, however, qualified to do a sympathetic repair work to heritage pieces. Part of the doctrine for restoring or repairing heritage pieces is the idea that everything that you do should be reversible, meaning that anything that you do to it can't be confused with original fabric of the piece. And that's all based on the Charter of Venice, which was drafted back in the 1960s, in which case all the signing countries that agreed to observe that drafted a piece of not legislation, but a guidance, a book guidance that all international historic agencies and partners observe, and how to properly treat restoration and preservation of historic and ancient fabric on various sites, buildings, and infrastructure. And there's certain protocol that is observed. And if anybody wants to look it up, all you have to do is type in Charter of Venice or the Charter, which is sometimes referred to. It's a pretty well-known piece of or document that is the framework that anybody that has a heritage structure should be familiar with, and helps to guide you on how to make decisions about what to do and how to do it. And although there's a lot of gray zones within that can be interpreted in various different ways. The idea of a standardized document protocol is a great way for us to kind of be on the same wavelength internationally, for everybody knows, the structure of how to assess restoration and what to do and how to do it. So in this case, I'm not looking so much for restoration, because restoration indicates that it's being returned to a period specific time period. I'm merely preserving what is left of the original fabric and stabilizing it so that more isn't lost. So there's a, kind of a, even though it's maybe just a matter of semantics, it's important to distinguish the difference between restoration and just merely repair work. So I'm going to leave this video off at this point for today. I think that it's a good introduction to the scope of this project and what my intentions are with it. And if you're interested in this kind of content, then by all means, I'd be happy if you subscribed. Otherwise, just come back and see the follow-up videos and see if this is your kind of content. But I think it's going to be an interesting project. I'm really interested to see the results of this. And I'm mostly interested in being able to share my knowledge with you. It's a great thing to be able to share what I know to with a broader audience. There's no point in me keeping it all to myself, is there? So I think I'm just going to leave it off for that today. And next day, I'm going to be getting into fixing this leg and getting into discussing the patching compounds and techniques for putting together this the cracked leg. So I think it's going to be interesting, and I'll see you next time. And thanks for watching. Bye.